Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jasmine Beck, and I'm a current graduate student at Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia. I'm currently an intern for Dr. Donald Reed, who you all know here at McDowell County on Commission of Aging. Um, Part of my duty as an intern this semester is to create a six to seven video series on how to effectively manage and control either blood pressure in general or high blood pressure. And in this first video today, I'm just going to give you all some blood pressure basics so that I don't do a complete information overload. And in the next few videos, we will discuss further topics in blood pressure and how they coincide with each other. So let's get into it now. So one may ask, what is blood pressure? Blood pressure is the pressure that your blood exerts against your arteries as it's pumped through your body from the heart. And the pressure in the arteries increases when the heart is beating and decreases when the heart is at rest. I have an image here so you all can see how the red blood cells and platelets just flow through the artery walls. And this is just like an imagination of what it looks like, right now in your body. I thought it would be kind of interesting to put in a few little facts that I found while trying to make this first video. And what I noticed specifically in West Virginia is that 1 in 3 adults, that's around 41%, actually have high blood pressure. And if anyone didn't know, high blood pressure can be asymptomatic. Many people walk around and, they don't know that they have high blood pressure. Um, not many symptoms occur with it, until something major happens, and it's usually associated with another chronic disease when something major does happen. Secondly, more than half of West Virginia adults are actively reducing their sodium intake. And what I mean by actively is most people are health conscious about sodium levels. They'll tend to look at nutrition labels and tend to go for something with a lower sodium intake in it to actively reduce sodium intake so they won't have to worry about hypertensive levels. But what I also found interesting was the prevalence of cardiovascular disease was significantly higher in counties such as Grant, Logan, McDowell, Mingo, and Wyoming counties rather than Virginia as a whole. And this is important because high blood pressure, otherwise known as hypertension, can lead to other health issues. And we will discuss those in further videos as we go through this series. So, how do we measure blood pressure? I'm pretty sure that everyone has had their blood pressure measured at least one time in their life at a standard or routine doctor's visit. And I'll just go through some of the simple steps that usually happens. Usually you're sitting down with your arms supported at your heart level. The medical professional will wrap the blood pressure cuff around your upper arm, which is just above the elbow. And they'll leave that space open because they're going to stethoscope um, near your elbow. And then once they place the stethoscope around that crease of the elbow, they tend to pump the cuff around 180 to 200 mmHg. And this is the units that professionals use to measure overall blood pressure. Quick thing I want to add in that a blood pressure cuff is also called a sphygmomanometer, but we'll keep it short and call it a blood pressure cuff going forward. Now, I want to give you all a visual of this type of blood pressure cuff, and then the next one here on the screen I'm going to show you. Depending on your medical office, it could look like the last one or this one in the photo here. I know at my doctor's office, they have an actual machine now. They'll put the cuff around your arm, but they'll press a button and the cuff will inflate on its own, and then it'll just go down on its own, and then you'll get your two numbers. But I want to make note that a stethoscope is important if your provider is using that method because it allows them to hear your heartbeat and your blood flow at the same time. Now that you are aware of, how to measure the blood pressure, well, how do we read those two numbers that the professional is telling us once they're done? Well, blood pressure is measured using two numbers. Um, Professionals will call these the systolic and the diastolic. And systolic is when you first hear the beat of the blood flow, and diastolic is when you last hear the beat of blood flow. Now, systolic, I was always taught as like, remember that as active. Diastolic is at rest. Now, according to our medical guidelines, the ideal blood pressure in a normal range is around 120 over 80. So just to pinpoint as an example, in this image here, the systolic is reading 120, and then we have the diastolic here over 80. So if you're going to say that to someone, you would say 120 over 80. If you're going to write it, it will just be 120 with a slash over 80. So yes. Now, although I mentioned that the normal range for blood pressure is around 120 over 80, um, there can be variations in blood pressure readings. And what I mean by this is there can be abnormally high blood pressure, which is called hypertension. And usually with hypertension, these are blood pressure readings over 140 over 90. And on the other hand, there's abnormally low blood pressure, which is called hypotension. Now, I want to make note there is no set low blood pressure reading, but I gave an example of one which was 98 over 75. I just wanted you all to get an idea of what a low blood pressure would read, and the one I provided you for hypotension is relatively low for an adult, especially in an adult. Now that I've provided you all information on what exactly is blood pressure, how to measure it, how do we read it, and then the two different types of blood pressure, I just wanted to leave you with a few key things and just to remind you that, blood pressure is the force of blood against your artery walls as it circulates throughout your body. Remember that blood pressure is measured using two numbers, in which the top number is systolic and the bottom is diastolic. And if you ever get confused on what those two mean, you can remember systolic as the active and diastolic is at rest. And just remember that blood pressure can be categorized as high or low. In future videos, we will be talking about high and low blood pressures as I'm going to compare the two and give you more insight on each one. And I just want to say, even though this was the introductory video on giving you some basic knowledge, I do hope by the end of this program that at least, you all will be able to just identify one way to either reduce high blood pressure or one way to help effectively manage your lifestyle so that you do not develop high blood pressure. And I just hope that you will gain something from this program, and I look forward to working with you all. So thank you.